Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. You see me smiling this morning because I've been looking at some of the comments and people have been here very early. I suspect that they took me very seriously last week when I indicated to you that back in the day, you had to be there 15 minutes before the time. So if you were roosted or rostered to perform duty from 11 o'clock, this show begins at 11. You were required to be there at quarter to 11. I noted someone came on as early as 10:48. So that's good. That's good. You're following instructions. You don't want to be accused of being late for duty. I noted Lenny accusing some of the regulars for being late for duty when in fact they were on air before him. So it is for you to decide how you're going to deal with him for making that false accusation. I noted that you were on before him, and then when he came on after you, he's accusing you of being late. So you will know how to deal with Lenny for that. So welcome, a very warm welcome to you all. I noted many of the regulars are already here. And you know the drill by now. I encourage you to share the stream, call and tell people that we're on. We're going to discuss a very interesting subject this morning, something that has been in the news over the past days. And I'm going to have my say, and I'm going to be joined by retired Assistant Commissioner Clinton Conway. We're going to have our say on this very topical issue this morning. So share. Tell a friend, inform a friend that we're here. And you know, we can't start, or we should not start, without giving praise and thanks to the Almighty for allowing us this opportunity to be here on another Wednesday to take part in this program, Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Because, you know, there are lots of corruption and incompetence in the society, and it is for us to expose those incompetent persons, those corrupt persons, for the betterment of the society. So while we go through this preamble, please share the stream, call people, let them know that we're on. We're willing, we're already here. Mr. Conway is already in the studio, ready and willing to go. So let's do the thing. I don't want to get like a certain man, tell you, look, share the damn live stream. What you waiting for? How many people you share to? And now, you know, a certain man who would say that. I'm not going to say that, but share the stream so that we can get maximum participation and you can be advised, you can be informed of what is going on, especially as it relates to this very serious and perhaps vexing issue that we see going around on social media. Lots of comments. People have been making lots of comments, and as can be expected, people have called me to find out what is going on. They have called to find out what is the regulation governing the issue. And therefore, I plan to go through it with you this morning to explain to you exactly what this thing is all about. I know many serving ranks are going to be on. They're going to follow the live stream. Some who cannot follow the live stream because of many reasons. I'm going to encourage you to go onto YouTube when this program is ended, and you'll be able to see, you can play at your own leisure and see and hear what has transpired on this program this morning. So share the live stream, call people, tell people, and you know, classes will be in. Lots of information to share, lots of experience to share, lots of proper good information, because a lot of things will spring from this one incident, which I will want to address this morning. There are many issues coming out. Not only the rank being caught, as they say, you know, we used to use the word back in the day. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but to say that the rank is caught crumping. The word we never said sleeping on duty. You caught a rank crumping. And let me tell you this as way of filling some time while people join us. There was a famous sergeant and then inspector the TSU. Don't let him catch you irregular on sentry. Don't let him catch you crumping, because he went out to visit, and when he returned, he would rejoice. Catch two, catch one, and you were in serious trouble. And then that is in the 70s. Then Bob Marley's song came out, Ambush in the Night. So whenever we saw him, we used to sing Ambush in the Night, and he used to be offended. Well, in those days, perhaps even now, if people know that you're offended by a particular name or a particular thing, that is what they're going to do. So every time we saw him, we'll sing Ambush in the Night, Bob Marley tune, because we were saying that he was ambushing people in the night to catch them irregular. Once you were caught irregular, you're going to be charged for neglect of duty contrary to Section 4E2 of the Police Discipline Act, Chapter 17, colon 1. And, well, in those days, what can happen if you're caught sleeping? CB, the drill is confinement to barracks for 14 days. You have to be in there. Extra fatigues, extra duty for 14 days. Yes, Lenny, that's the man. For those of you who look at the comments, Lenny has identified the man who used to rejoice when he caught people sleeping, and we used to sing the song Ambush in the Night, and he used to be offended by that. That is the man, Lenny. You're old man, you know the thing. Right, so yes, CB with drill, confinement to barracks with drill, that used to be the punishment. There was a time, and this is serious, we can research the records. There was a time perhaps in the late 70s, if a rank was caught what we call sleeping under arms, it was almost automatic dismissal from the force. Once a rank is caught in those days sleeping under arms, and he was armed with a revolver, almost automatic dismissal. I remember one guy, Amsterdam, 9900 police, 9903, something around that. Very, very diligent worker. He lived in the back room, and I just live in the back room because when you live in the back room, sometimes advantage is taken of you. He lived in the back room, and he had completed his tour. In those days, a tour of duty was 8 hours. He had completed his tour, and later in the evening, there was a shortage, and he was asked by the sergeant, the sergeant on duty, to give him another 4 hours. And he was sent at the Cuban residence, the Cuban embassy, situated on Main Street. And while there, given that extra 4 hours, he was caught sleeping on the arms, and he was dismissed. He was dismissed. I think he went on later and he was at the city constabulary. But I always remember that incident because this is a man who was so hardworking that he completed his tour and was asked to give some extra. And during the course of the extra, so things used to be very rough. And of course, it never used to be those hours. Never used to be those hours. So I know that the numbers have built up. So let me go into today's program. And before I go into the issue that I advertised to speak about the policeman sleeping on duty, many persons have been reaching out to me to find out what is the position with this matter, the suspension of the Police Service Commission. So let me just bring you up to speed very quickly. As I have indicated before, the matter is engaging the attention of the court, and therefore it would not be right for me to go into the details of the matter, but I'm going to give you the timeline. You may recall that on the 16th of June last year, the president suspended the Police Service Commission, of which I was the chairman. All members were suspended, and the reason stated for the suspension is that we are joined with Mr. Ganesh Maipala, opposition member, and other members of parliament to challenge the Fiscal Accountability Act, something like that, the act name. And those things are there, so you can do your research and find out the whole thing. That is the reason that they advanced for suspending the entire Service Commission. It was noted too that that was done just 2 days before the Chief Justice was scheduled to give down the decision on the Brutus matter. So the commission was suspended on the 16th, and the matter, the Brutus application was to be decided on the 18th. So after the suspension, the suspension was challenged by us, the members of the commission, through our lawyers, and law court matter. In the first instance, when it came up, the Attorney General filed an application to say that the president should not be named in this application that we in his challenge, because he was named as the third respondent. And after the long arguments, then the judge ruled that the president enjoys immunity, and therefore the president should be removed as the third respondent. No sooner than that decision was handed down and the president and the judge was about to give timeline for the substantive matter, the attorney general indicated that he had filed an application around the same day or shortly, I think the same day or shortly before, to say now that the fact that the life of the Police Service Commission had ended, then the matter should not be continued. Again, long legal arguments ensued, and on the 8th or the 9th day of March this year, that is last month, Justice Zeno Prasad handed down a ruling dismissing the application by the Attorney General. And among the things he said is that because of the public interest nature of this matter, that is whether the president lawfully in suspending the Police Service Commission, the matter should be determined on its merits. And in terms of the Police Service Commission being the applicant, he says that he's going to, he quoted all the case laws. The thing is there, he's going to substitute Paul Slow, that is me, as the applicant. So the matter is Paul Slow versus the Secretary of the Service Commission, Commissioner of Police, Attorney General. That is the matter. Now, this matter is to be, I omitted one part. Following that decision, the Attorney General indicated that he would appeal. He has appealed to the full court. He has appealed to the full court, one, to stay the order of Justice Zeno Prasad. That is to say that Justice Zeno Prasad should not be continued with the substantive matter. And of two, to say, well, the Justice Zeno Prasad to challenge the decision. Now, that matter comes up tomorrow, Thursday, the 28th, tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, in front of the full court, where the lawyers, the Attorney General and the lawyers are going to argue the first on the merits of the application to stay the order, and perhaps on the substantive, on the appeal itself. So tomorrow at 3 o'clock, that matter is scheduled to be heard. That is just a way, because people, remember this whole thing, apart from the suspension of us and the members of the commission, we're talking here about 126 police ranks who were promoted by the Service Commission, that the government decided they're not going to accept the promotion. So those people are in abeyance. People have retired. The benefits, no doubt, are going to be affected. So that is a very interesting matter, and it continues tomorrow. Because people have been asking, and people believe, well, they're not airing anything. So I thought it would be useful for me to just bring you up to date with what has happened or what is happening in that matter. No, the matter is not dead. The matter is still going through the process in the court. It's now at the full court, and tomorrow afternoon, the arguments will, the legal arguments will commence. So that is by way of bringing you up to speed. Now, the next matter here now, let me take at this stage, let me invite Mr. Conway into the studio. I know he's backstage. Mr. Conway, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Paul. Morning to our viewers, our listeners. And I must say that I'm always comfortable and feel safe sharing the same stage with a Bajan. Although you just mentioned that you got a new badge, you know a substitute. Hope you're comfortable.
Yes, I'm a substitute now, or a deputy. On the Calypsonian, they say a deputy essential. So that's the role. I'm now substituted, according to the judge, in the place and stead of the Police Service Commission. So welcome to this morning's program. I know the viewers are always anxious to see and to hear from you. You have never disappointed, and I know that you will not disappoint this morning. Well, the substantive issue that we plan. Well, first of all, initially when last week when the program finished, I indicated, or I had thought about, I spoke to you and I said, let me deal with this police strategic plan and matters related thereto. But then between then and now, this very important matter has come up, and you have kindly agreed for us to push that down, kick that down the road, as they would say, and deal with this current issue, which has been gaining so much attention, and rightfully so, from members of the public. I refer to the matter where the police rank, the TSU rank, was videotaped sleeping on duty, and then the all thing went viral and all the comments. What's your reaction to the whole incident, CC?
Paul, there are so many issues involved that might take us a whole week really to look at them. But there was some regulation. I think you are aware of it in terms of the number of hours the rank supposed to be working. And I understand the rank was on duty for over 25 hours before he was relieved. You
My
know,
lord.
you were aware of the, and it's a TSU rank. You are the OCTSU, as the case may be. And I'm certain you can brief us. I'm going to chip in later on. But there are so many issues that I don't even really know where really to start from.
Well, all right, thanks. But let me start. As you indicated, I was once the officer in charge of TSU. Well, let me give the viewers, because many people might not know. I joined in 1974, and I was at the TSU. I served at the TSU from 1974 until 1993, from the rank of constable to the rank of superintendent. When I left the TSU, I was the officer in charge, as they call it, OCTSU, and with the rank of superintendent. I became officer in charge of the TSU at the rank of deputy superintendent in 1991 when I took over from Ovid Glasgow. And so therefore, I believe that my 19 years experience at the TSU, working from constable to the rank of superintendent, qualify me to pronounce on this issue. And as you rightfully said, there are many, many issues that came out of this one incident, many, many issues. And I have been making some inquiries. And my understanding, and listen to this, folks, those people who are listening and trying to find out what are the facts of this matter. Let me digress to tell you that there was a commissioner, CC, you know him, Henry Fraser. He used to say that facts are stubborn things. He said facts are stubborn things. No matter what you do, they don't move. They are there staring you. So the facts of this matter are very clear. It is said that the rank reported for duty 7 o'clock the night. 7 o'clock the night before he was found or videotaped sleeping. He uplifted his firearm to go on duty, and he was sent off. Eventually, I think he arrived at the post something like 9 o'clock the night. The night. Now, he continued to work, and my understanding is that when he was when meals was first taken to him, some food and some water, was on the 16th hour. In the 16th hour of him being there, that is when some food was taken to him. And when that video recording was made, I understand that that was in the 18th hour of him being on duty. And more than that, he remained on duty for the next 7 hours before he was eventually relieved. So the duration of this rank's tour at this place was something like 25 hours. That is it from the time he went on duty and when he was relieved. And that is not counting when he got there at 7 o'clock at the night. That is not counting when he got there. And you referred earlier to the regulations dealing with persons on duty. Let me tell you this. This is for the benefit of all those who have been commenting on the hours of duty. The regulation was, and perhaps still is, that a rank performing armed guard duty. Let me go this slowly so you can understand. A rank performing armed guard duty should not be, and they call it fixed point duty. At some states, fixed point duty should not be on the post for more than 4 continuous hours under arms. Then he's relieved, and then he's taken back because it should be a maximum of 8 hours. So he works there for 4. He's taken off and relaxes for 4, and then he's taken back to complete his second tour of duty. Total of 8 hours is what the rank work. I know that there was lots of discussion because you had issues relating to that split shift arrangement. What happened is that a rank will come in, and let's say he's posted from 8 to 12. He's relieved at 12. He's supposed to come back at 4. Many times you have issues with ranks returning for the second 4 hours. So a decision was taken that look, it might be more convenient for all for the ranks to work 8 hours, goes on duty 8 hours, and then he's relieved 8 hours, and then he's released from duty. So to hear now that a man is put to work and he has to be there 16, 25. I understand people have been known to work as many as 36 hours at these places, as many as 36 hours at these places. Dinner, lunch might be taken for you. Dinner might be taken to you as well. So this is inhumane treatment. Inhumane treatment. You have a guy on duty. When this video recorded was taken 18 hours, 18 straight hours. Comrade, he's no robot. He's no robot. And I dare suggest that when he was caught sleeping in the 18th hours, that's not the first time he crumped. That is not the first time, because if he was there from 9 o'clock at night, I suspect by 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, he would have been so tired that he had to take a little crump. What? Let me hear you. Let me hear you take on that part, TC.
Paul, I remember you mentioned about the person being dismissive, they found sleeping or crumping, as we say. And I remember the commission then was the same Henry Fraser,
Yes, yes.
And there are many questions to be asked, many answer them. Is there an issue with checks and balances? Did anybody check them? Is there an issue? They have a shortage of manpower. There's a shortage of vehicle. If he left 7 and then he reaches post 2 hours afterward, even with the meal situation, Paul, I understand there's one vehicle carrying meals to the East Bank, to Georgetown, to East Coast for ranks, and sometimes 2 hours he last before ranks could go get meals, That the whole thing need a proper, a thorough investigations to ensure that we do the correct thing, that the ranks are comfortable, that we abide with the labor laws and all sorts of things there. It is ridiculous to have a man for 20 hours without any relief. And apparently no checks and balances aren't in place. Perhaps incompetence spreading right down to the bottom.
Well, it's that. Well, we gonna adjust that, because one of the things, as you indicated, if you should look at the investigation, and as was to be expected with these people, from the time the video was circulated, I understand the man was pulled in, and he was given a charge sheet. He was charged for perhaps neglected duty, and the instruction was that the charge should be endorsed. Last week, I think I dealt with what that means. That when a rank is given a disciplinary charge sheet and the charge sheet is endorsed, the endorsement tells him that if he is found guilty of the charge, his dismissal from the force, in this case is a constable, so there's no question about reduction in rank, his dismissal from the force will be considered or may be considered. So it is taking that seriously, and that is the first thing to do. So what investigation would have been done for this man to be issued with the charge so quickly? Because if you want to conduct an investigation into a matter like this, I believe that a more thorough investigation, not only the fact that the man was caught sleeping on duty when he was posted, and from my experience, the persons who were on duty there back in the base, the duty officer, the duty sergeant, they are liable as well. What did they do? They did not realize, they did not know that this man was on duty for all these long hours. What did they do to make sure that this man is relieved? And let me say this, as an old man from the TSU, in many cases, you're going to always find there's a shortage of ranks to work fixed point duties. Always a shortage to work fixed point duty, because what you find is that the commitments, the places to be guarded, are far in excess of the manpower resources that is available, far in excess. So you always have an issue with that. What we did in my day, what we did is that first of all, you have to make an assessment as to who will be provided with guards from the TSU. And I could tell you this, without any fear of successful contradiction, there is no way a man who is an advisor to a minister will be entitled to a sentry from the TSU? Absolutely no way. Up to when I was there at operations with Henry Green as commissioner. Green with all his bad ways. That ain't flying, that ain't going nowhere. You're not going to get a rank from the TSU to be working um, at, at some ministerial advisors' residence. And that is the problem. They have too many posts. I understand that the instructions are, and these instructions came from the man who was there in the Deputy Commissioner Operations office, who now sits in the Commissioner's office, that these posts, these ministerial posts, must always be manned, regardless of what. So whether you get people to relieve a man or not, that is not a consideration. The post must be manned 24/7. And more than that, you know what my little digging has revealed? My little digging has revealed that some of these ministers have more than one buildings, more than one homes, or well, can't say resident. They live in one, and they might have a next one. And the guard TSU has to provide guard for the place where they don't live. So this is not a question where they're only guarding or providing guard for the minister, but they're providing guard for the minister's property, even though they might not be occupying the property at the time, even though the property might be empty and no one lives there. They got to provide guard. So that is why you got to run into these problems. That is why you have to run into this problem. See, what's your take?
I don't know how in heaven's name an advisor to a minister would get a guard. But I hear permanent secretaries asking for guards and
Oh
getting.
my,
I hear some ministers get 5 guards, some got 4 guards. The police complain that they're woefully short of ranks there on the staff. For the matter last year, they didn't do any recruitment and they didn't do any training.
let me
Blame it
interject,
on
man.
COVID. Yeah.
Let me interject, CC. That can't be so. You had police that we talk about this program of police rank making pavement, the same TSU rank making pavement and so on. So you can't, oh, you're short and you're making pavement and you can't perform your duties. No, man. Don't tell me that, man.
You see, it's how you utilize your limited resources. It calls for brain work, Paul. It calls
Yeah.
for brain work. And let me digress a bit. I always talk about Dr. Roger Sperry. In 1981, he won a Nobel Prize for medicine. He did extensive brain work. And he said the left side of the brain and the right side, they have their own thoughts and memory, and they process information differently. I think the left side is emotional, the right side is logical, but they interchange 10 times every 24 hours. He said the thing is not whether you use the left side, which side of the brain, whether the right or the left side is better. That in making decisions and problem solving, you must use the whole brain. You call it whole brain research. And we have quite a number of persons, the movers and shakers in the police force and outside of the police force. They're not using their whole brain. They're mostly emotional and political. And if you don't use your whole brain, things gonna go wrong. That's why we have all this chaos and confusion and everything. Use the brain. Use to say, Paul, that they can't mambo. They unmambable.
Unmambable, like the
And
unmambable for those people who are
yeah,
listening.
they're not using the brain, or people
Yeah,
say
they can't mambo.
they're numbskull, or people say that they donger head or something like that. So the thing is that with all we have the limited resources, we must effectively use it. How we dispatch our ranks, how we prioritize as the case may be. Can't get a man for 20 something hours working there. No way and get no relief. No bell and ringing. Yeah, no red flag and flying about the place there. Nonsense, Paul.
They all, but you know, this whoever recorded this thing and then have it on social media. They don't recognize that. Look, first of all, the same people who are clamoring to have people there, and they must be there. And as I've said, I am informed. It is alleged that is the man in charge of operation gave those instructions. Do they not realize that when a man is on duty underarm for a particular, and when not even underarms, a man is on duty period. After a period of time, what type of security this person can be provided? If a man is there for 25 hours, 20 hours, what security can he
And
reasonably be
if you make
provided?
cut, if you make cut in there, Paul, the longer you work, the more unproductive you become.
Well, exactly, exactly. So it is not. This is not on this man who they videotape. This is on them. It is on the system. It
Yeah.
is. And let me say this: this man, this rank, ought to be complimented because I know back in the day, as soon as the 8 hour shift finished, going on to 9, some of those people would have walked off and returned to base. They would have walked off because they're tired. But this man showed some amount of discipline in that he remained on the post for 25 hours until he was relieved for 25 hours. I don't, even though I pride myself in my discipline, I don't believe that I would have remained there for that length of time. I don't think I would have done that. I would have um, walked off and take a charge sheet for leaving the point of duty without due permission or sufficient cause. And I would have argued that I had sufficient cause to leave the point of duty.
I don't know the facilities under which you're working, but I understand there are some horrible facilities. No gadgets, no washroom, no nothing. I think.
The men complain about one in Cowan Street, Kingston, a minister's resident. It has no facilities in the yard. So what they did, they put a guard up outside the yard. Outside the yard. No toilet facilities for when a rank want to use the bathroom. So what happens? If it's in the night, they go on the road and they urinate on the road. If they want to do the to defecate, there is a taxi service nearby. They have to go and beg the people them to use the washroom. And if for some reason the people do not allow them to use the washroom, then they have to walk back or walk to traffic or some nearby place. So what type of security are you providing when the conditions are of such that the rank is forced to abandon the post for some time to go to take care of his needs? What type of facility you have? What is that? And I understand that the abuse of the ranks. One man, they claim, you mentioned it before, that many of these, well, I don't know many, but at least one has multiple ranks. He has a guard. And let me explain for those people who may not know what I mean by that. Now, you have a case where a man might have what we call in police language sentry. That means there's one man there performing sentry duty. This man, a minister, has a guard, which means that the guard consists of several ranks. So it's maybe a subordinate officer, a corporal, or a sergeant, and 2 or 3 other ranks. So at any one stage, at any one time, you have like about the subordinate officer and 2 or 3, 4, that you talk about 3 or 4 ranks at this one place. And the question will come up that if you're going to have a guard, are there facilities there for a guard? Because if you're having a guard, then that requires a guard up. Guard up us, because they're not expected, that they should not be expected to all be on duty at the same time. They're expected to relieve each other. And while on the downtime, you have some facility there for them to lay down and relax and rest, right? So I don't know what is happening. First of all, back in the day, before a person is given a guard, whether it's TSU or elsewhere, a survey would have been done of the resident. That's one decision. Once a decision is taken that this particular person will be provided with a guard from the police, whether it's regular police, whether it's special constable, whether it's TSU ranks, a proper survey, I have conducted many of those surveys, is done of the premises to ensure that it has the correct facilities, a guard up, a washroom, and if having checked the facility, they don't have, even after you check the resident, they don't have the type of facility, the recommendation used to be that, look, no guard is going to be provided until these things are put in place. And the subject minister or the person used to be so advised. And then they have to go and get their house in order, so to speak, before a guard is provided to work those places. So I don't know if that is done now, because obviously the fact the one in one sheet I referred to, if that was done, then somebody would have been able to tell the man, look, we're willing to provide, but until such time that these facilities are made available, we are not going to be able to provide a sanctuary. SEC?
I agree, Paul. And then the thing is that you mentioned about the SCs. They don't want special constables to work there. They want TSU ranks, and they're asking for member of the SWAT team. Well, the SWAT team ain't doing nothing, so maybe I could get them that they want specialized persons and permanent secretaries, advisors, ministers, and all those persons there. They want those type of police, and they get in. Just make the request, and you get them. No gathered, no facilities, no nothing, and that's it.
But it's interesting thing you talk about SWAT, because I understand that on some occasions, members of the same SWAT team are made to perform the same type of duty. And my position is about SWAT way back then. Way back then still stands, and that is exactly what we're saying. So what are they doing? Providing sentry duty for permanent secretaries and government ministers? Can that be an efficient use of highly trained? I assume that they are highly trained persons, and I say no, that cannot be proper use of that resource. And you talk about the food, the meal thing. Now, my understanding, just like you, is that many times the ranks are there, they don't have any water to drink. No water is provided for them at the residence. They have to wait until what they call the meals vehicle goes around. It goes on the East Coast where they have to provide sentry around Georgetown, is on the East Bank. By the time it finishes that circuitous route, the 2 hours sometimes elapses, more than 1 hour in many cases. And as in this case, I understand with this young constable, the food spoiled because it's there in an open vehicle driving through with the son. And in recent times, the son and the father and everybody, they coming down on you. So the food spoiled. And something got wrong, because even eating on duty, you will recall, is an offense. So that is why, as somebody indicated in the chat, it used to be 4 on, 4 off, because you were not expected to eat while you were there. So you were taken on duty for 4 hours, and at the end of the 4 hours you came off, you got some time to eat, you got some time to rest, and then you were taken back on, right? So eating, what happens? You're talking about security. So you have a situation where a man is there with an assault rifle. In this case, the man is there with an assault rifle. Well, that in itself is another issue. Why is an advisor to a minister being guarded, one by a TSU rank, and then he is armed with an assault rifle? What is the threat they are guarding against? This thing, let me say this. This thing is just a status symbol among many of these people. There's no threat. They don't deserve any guard. The thing is so ridiculous that you have an advisor to a minister with an armed TSU rank, armed with an assault rifle. He's armed with an assault rifle. And then you have judges who are making all kinds of decisions, all kinds of serious decisions involving criminals. They got a sentry from the special constabulary, an unarmed sentry. So that shows the ridiculous nature. So that is why I'm saying that this thing where they want guard, and especially as you said, guard from the TSU, is a status thing. Is a status thing. It goes to show that I'm important. I have a police guard at my residence. And as I've said, they're abusing, many of them abusing. The ranks have complained, many of them come and insisting that the rank should salute them. They want the rank to salute them. One man said, and while I am not for violence, I agree that that person who took the video can consider himself very lucky. So, suppose he had startled that man. The man there in a dream, the man there in a deep sleep, and he dreaming something. He dreaming somebody approaching him with a knife or something, and the man get up in his stupor and open fire. They don't consider these things. They do not consider these things. Yes, CCC, want to say something.
So, apparently, there's no threat analysis being done, yeah? And that's the whole thing, you know. And as you rightly mentioned, what the man doing with that rifle, high power rifle there, that is not good for close quarter combat, you know. And Paul,
Well,
so many things go wrong that you know.
so many things wrong because let's say um for some reason that man is there with this assault rifle and he sees some intruder and well they expect him to open. Well, if he's attacked, he's expected he's going to be justified in shooting. Now in shooting assault rifle in a location like that, even the very people from the home, the very people who is there to guard can be in danger. Neighbors can be in danger because we're talking about an high-powered rifle that can penetrate wooden walls, can go
That's great.
yards away from where it was fired. And that is the type. You said no assessment is done. I don't know that they are capable of making any proper assessment. All that happens is that somebody will say to them, give this man a guard. And they say, yes, sir. No proper analysis, no proper assessment is done. And they just jump and decide that because they get these orders and they don't have the professionalism, they don't have the balls to say, well, look, sir, sorry, but in the circumstances, this is what I'm advising. They can't do that. And I say this, CC, Henry Green, with all his bad ways, the late Henry Green, my squaddy, there is no way something like that would have happened under Henry Green's watch. And I'm speaking here of a security advisor getting sentry from the TSU and the man being armed with an assault rifle. There is no way under my watch, as the man in charge of operations, that could have happened. No way. And the ranks who worked with me and the ranks who worked with Mr. Green, you are one of them, will tell you that we are not going to countenance, we will not encourage that. We would have very professionally and politely pointed out to whoever had made the request what our views were and why those yard, that yard could not have been provided. So this whole thing it's fact, as we said, is incompetence, it's unprofessional, and that is why we have to speak out and expose these things.
It couldn't happen with Grain. It couldn't happen with Winston Felix and many others.
Well,
No
exactly.
one.
I forget to mention. There's no way, but even way back, Balaam Ragaby, Larry Lewis,
Yeah.
that couldn't happen. That couldn't happen
No
under
way.
those commissioners, Kayat commissioners, because one of the things too, when you talk about Balaram, you talk about Winston, you talk about the Henry Green, they had people in the operations position who knew what they were about. They knew what they were about, and they were not yes men. They were not brown nosers. So that could not have happened because those persons would have stood up and to say to them, and let me tell you this. Let me say this for the benefit of the viewers. I don't believe that in Henry Green's days that even such a request would have been made. They wouldn't even think about making such a request. Someone, Lenny mentioning Franchot Duncan Clark, a great man. That
Yeah.
would never happen, could never happen in those days. But you have people now who just want to please the politician, regardless. They just want to please, they just want to get into the good graces of the politician. And that is why. So this matter has affected me personally because, as I've said, I worked at the TSU for 19 years. And I can understand what is going on there for when a rank has to work all these long hours. I know what was discovered. People said 25. A man said 25, he's lucky because people have been known to work longer than that. Longer than that. And a man said that even the same day that this matter was highlighted, that this issue was highlighted, people work 20, 24 hours same time. So despite this expose, the nonsense continues. The nonsense continues, and it can only continue because you have people there who are incompetent and ought not to be there in those positions. And I make the point, and a matter like this requires a thorough investigation. and not an investigation by OPR. I understand that the OPR is conducting an investigation. OPR is known over the years where OPR conducted an investigation, and then you don't hear anything more about it. Because an investigation like this requires a very thorough, from, for example, who gave instructions for this ministerial advisor to get the grants from the TSU? I think that is where it would have started. What is the process of deciding how and when police ranks are provided for these places? Who determines the type of arms all of these things in this investigation? What happened to the duty officers? What did they do? I understand Mark called several times to the duty officer to complain that he was hungry, he was tired, and he was ignored. Who is the duty officer that was involved? Are these people not visited? In my day, and you would know that a rank and duty ought to have visits by officers and other people during the course of the night to make sure that you are upright and alert. So these people are not visited. You visit, the visit I know that is mandated. Ranks are visited. You take their pocketbooks and they report their posts. You make a note that they found a lot or whatever the case may be, any complaints made. That was the process, but this whole thing break down. This whole thing break down. That is why we're having these difficulties. That is why rank. And the question is, and I want you to address this: what is the role of the police association in a matter like this? What is the role?
I would say the install police association, because that is illegal. They broke all the processes dealing with what should happen before, during, and after election. Paul, hundreds of policemen were disenfranchised. They didn't get the opportunity to select who they want to be in that association. It was illegal. And when you're illegal and you try your illegal best, you're still illegal. When you're incompetent and you try your incompetent best, you're still incompetent. Let me tell you about what I read recently. And I have the here, which was allegedly written by Inspector Premnerine. I think it was being addressed to the Caribbean Association that deals with welfare matters. Remember, they had written and threatened to suspend the Guyana Police Force from that association as a result of the illegal elections that took place.
Yeah.
Here is what he wrote. And he's talking about this policeman who was found on duty. The alleged news agency is a political outfit. As such, we aren't using any information published there. Let me go. The alleged news agency is a political outfit. As such, we aren't using any information published there. So if it's political, you're not taking any action. So if it's a PPP thing, no action. If it's a PNC thing, no action. And it goes further and you look at it broader. That guy, Premnerine, is a major investigator in the Guyana Police Force. So if you look at it, a criminal might come to him, a convicted criminal, and want to give him some information. He said he ain't acting on it because the man is a criminal. Just like how they take a caution statement, full stop, and nothing else. So when the caution statement goes through the window, the case gone. So that association, where was Premnerine when Shawnette Ballas alleged that she was spat on and called all sorts of racial names? Where was he? Where was the Police Women Association? Where was the PRO? Where was Commissioner Happy and them when they had the incident with that lady? Now they're jumping on the youngster and they're jumping on the news agency. Who said is a news agency? That it's a political outfit, and we're not using any information published there. And Premnerine, I don't want to be personal, is not a political. You will recall, Paul, when we were on the Service Commission before we were illegally removed. We had reports of Prem conduct who, according to his commander, was absent from duty and found himself at Ashman Building performing activities that were not apolitical. So how we jumping on the agency that's political? Where he been all the time? When major issues happening, he's silent. But perhaps he have just selected this one here to be heard. Nonsense, Paul. Nonsense.
Well, it's really sad because an issue like this, the police association, because some people during the comments during the week, they talk about union, whether the police have a union, what is the union doing to look into the welfare of their members around working 24 hours and all of that. And the police don't have a union as such in the traditional sense, but they have the police association, which is mandated by law, the Police Act, Chapter 1601, to deal with welfare issues relating to ransom constable all the way to inspector. That is the police association's function. And they are silent, they are not doing anything. And when the man comes out now to think, the man is telling people, oh, we should not listen to this because this thing is emanating from some unit that he claims to be politically aligned. So
Yeah.
does that change the fact that this man was on duty for 25 hours? Does the fact that this information is made known or emanates from a political source, whatever the source is? And I have been pointed out long ago that people don't want to listen to the message. They look at the messages, and this is a classic case. A classic case. So this message is there for the world to see that a policeman is on duty for 18 hours and is video recorded sleeping on duty with an assault rifle. And because the source of the information, according to this man, is political, the information should be disregarded. What nonsense is that? What type of representation? And I don't expect better because he was put there for a purpose and he has fulfilled his purpose. And that purpose, as you know, was to submit names to the parliament for members of the Police Service Commission. You are familiar with what transpired there.
Not only names, Paul, names given to him by politicians.
Well, yes, the names that were
and names of persons, I could say without fear of contradiction, at least 3 of the 4 names are politicians. You know them too.
Well, there you have it.
If I may add, they say the fish rottens from his head.
Yeah.
And there's one who masquerading as a deputy commissioner. And he say, look, I heard him several times saying he concerned with the results and not the process.
Well,
whatever process he's concerned with results and not process.
If you have a senior police officer making that statement, go beyond to the citizens of this country. Because he ain't concerned how an investigation is done. And I'm extrapolating here. He ain't concerned. If you make a statement like that, basically you're saying that you're not concerned with how an investigation is done, whether man get beaten for the investigation, whether you use force to extract statement. I am not concerned with that. Once at the end of the day, a person is charged, and this is not the end process, because as we know in the criminal proceedings, the charging of a person is not the end process. The end process ought to be successful the conviction of the person. But they're not interested in that. Yeah. That is the problem. Our next issue that came up during this whole matter is the issue of overtime. Comrade, sit down. Yeah, sit down and listen carefully. Sit down and listen carefully to what I'm about to say. The fact that this rank and other ranks are made to work for those long hours, there's no overtime is involved there. No overtime is involved. He gets his flat salary at the end of the month. The performing sentry duty as a minister's resident for those long ungodly hours or as an advisor resident. No extra duties involved. Policemen are only paid extra duty when they perform at those private occasions. For example, you had a show at the national park. You get extra duty there. You get show at the stadium. there is extra duty. They get cricket at the stadium, there is extra duty. If you organize a barbecue, and as many of you will know, you organize a barbecue, the police will insist, well, in order to maintain order, you have to get 2 or 3, you have to pay for 2 or 3 policemen to work at the function. That is what is considered extra duty. So a rank working at a minister's residence, and not only police ranks, even the special constables who work for those long, ungodly hours at the those residents, and even when they work in queries office and all of that, there is not a single blind cent extra that they get for that. So let's put that to rest. Let's put
Paul,
that to
Paul, you miss out one, but it's maybe so infinitesimal that you miss out. They're being paid commuted overtime allowance. I think it's $1,200 every month for the extra time they work, and
community
and that
wide.
and that is what the association should be fighting for.
Well, exactly. So listeners, viewers, understand it. So some people have been saying, some people have been suggesting, well, maybe the man greedy. That is why he put in at 25 hours, because he greedy in that he want the extra duty money. He has no extra duty money to get. Yes, Cecil, no extra duty, and they can check that out and let the pop the what they call the corporate propaganda unit come and dispute that. A rank and duty in those places, extra duty if they go to those mines to perform function. Many of those mines, back in the day, you had OMI, and now you have some. Yes, they are paid extra duty for those type of functions.
Yeah.
But once they work at these ministers' residence, once they work as these advisors' residence, once they work as these magistrates and the judges and those people, that is not you can work till cow come home, as in the case of this rank. 25 hours, 36 hours. You get your flat salary at the end of the month, a little 60,000 or whatever it is. And as CC reminded me, you get a commuted overtime, which is like about $1,200, $1,200. Let me
I
repeat
month.
it. 1,200. I am not talking, I mean, my mouth and full with what, 1,200, which is about $6 US a month.
And that was since 1980 in the 80s.
A month. And of course, we failed to mention that they're gonna bring little sour food and a bottle of water for you to be there. So these are inhumane conditions, and that is why the morale of the ranks of the TSU and elsewhere in the force is so low, because you have a unit like the police association, and then of course you have a police welfare department. They don't look into things like these. They don't look into things. They don't look into the ranks welfare, because what can we call out? What can be more required? What can call for more involvement of the welfare department and the police association than a situation where ranks are made to work 25 hours and longer with firearms? What can cry out for their involvement more than that? So that is the problem that you have. And they're gonna come again, they don't listen to the message. They're gonna come to after the messenger. Well, let me paraphrase Steve Biko. Steve Biko is was a freedom fighter in South Africa. He said, I can basically be, I'm paraphrasing, they can beat me, they ain't gonna change my view. They can lock me up, they ain't gonna change my view. And they can kill me, they ain't gonna change my view. That is what Steve Biko said, and I hold firmly to that. I hold firmly, and that is why I will speak out. I will expose corruption and incompetence, because it is very, very prevalent. It is there everywhere. This is a clear case. Just examine it. Examine the tape that this man put out there, and look at the circumstances which lead to that. Again, I want to compliment the policeman. I understand that he was charged departmentally and he has pleaded not guilty. That is a good thing. Plead not guilty, look for seek advice from people as to how you should conduct your defense. Because here again, as I said last week, with the police discipline, this is the man whose employment now is going to be threatened because the charges is endorsed. And I know in matters like these, what's going on, they endorse the charge sheet, and somebody going to tell the disciplinary authority at the TSU, who should be the officer in charge of the TSU, that the charge sheet should be sent to the commissioner for punishment to be awarded. Now, once the charge sheet goes to the commissioner for punishment to be awarded, it's three things you're talking about. You're talking about 28 days CD confinement to barracks with drill. You're talking about 10 days pay to be fined, or you're talking about dismissal. Once it gets to the commissioner, that is what it is. Because all other forms of punishment can be awarded by the lower disciplinary authority. So once you hear that the charge is going to be sent for the commissioner for punishment to be awarded, that is what is likely to happen. And even when or if punishment is awarded by the lower level disciplinary authority, the final review is with the commissioner. So let's assume that the rank is awarded a 5 days pay or a whatever down at the TSU level. When that gets to the admin level, the commissioner can decide dismissal, 10 days pay, or 28 days CB withdrawal. And as we pointed out, something like this, the only person that can represent him at a disciplinary inquiry is a fellow constable, a lance corporal, a corporal, or a sergeant. Nobody else can offer any representation. He can't retain the services of any lawyer. He can't do that. The law doesn't allow for that. Those are the type of thing the police association should be championing to change. Those are the type of thing. Why is it in these days it is still in the law books that a man can be fined 10 days pay? Why is it that can happen? Those are the things that they should champion. But as we say, they have no interest in that. They don't have any interest in the welfare of the ranks. They don't. And this and other incidents, you pointed out the Ballers incidents, and I understand that the abuses and the long hours, those are frequent occurrences. Is that an aberration? Is that a one-off? These things happen all the time. I understand. So yes, Robert, the only thing you can get is we normally say defaulter friend, but the law says a friend of the defaulter. That is how the law styles it. But we will say defaulter friend. And for a constable, your friend of the defaulter or the defaulter friend can be an ex-constable, can be a lance corporal, can be a corporal, cannot be of a higher rank than a sergeant. So that is what you have. That is why you have with this young constable now. I'm sure that he doesn't have the experience and so on to defend himself adequately in a disciplinary inquiry. But those are the only persons he can get to in this modern age, 24th century, the year 2022. That is what the police regulation says, and that is what they're going to do. He's going to be, as we're going to say, he's going to be cowboyed. Fernando Sancho will come to work. The older people will know who is Fernando Sancho. Fernando Sancho was a notorious in the old Western days when I was a young man going to movies. Fernando Sancho was an old bandito, a Mexican bandito. And the other phrase he became famous for or infamous for is to give him a fair trial and hang him in the morning. So that is what we're going to get is a Fernando Sancho. You're going to get a fair trial and then they're going to hang him in the morning. CC, your closing remarks.
I hope it doesn't happen, but then strange things happens in the police force. And I hope that there be a proper inquiry, not by the unit that they have at Robert Walk there, but a proper unit, a proper investigation, a honest investigation, and that all those issues that will come up will not be just thrown under the carpet. That there's need for critical thinking, there's need for forward planning in the police force. There needs for so many things. And talking about forward planning, I think we have to discuss, and let me use one of the words, the strategic plan 2022-2026. The party that they have any, and I challenge them at this forum, produce the 2020-2026 strategic plan.
I see a more commenting say Fernando. Gary, you're not correct. It's not Fernando Sancho. I was an old Western man, you know. It's not Fernando Sancho said when you come to shoot, don't talk. That was Eli Wallach, man. Eli Wallach in the bathtub. That was the scene in the bathtub when he was there, and the man who the man with the one hand man came and he asked, "You remember this?" Pointing to the one hand, And then he told him how many years ago he's the one that caused him to the one arm to be amputated. And out of the bathtub, called white picture, out of the bathtub, sir, not Fernando, Eli Wallach. Shoot, bow, bow, bow. I'll tell you when you come to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
Shoot and don't talk.
When
I
you come
remember.
to shoot, that was Eli Wallach. When you come to shoot, shoot, don't talk. So don't put that on Fernando Sancho. Fernando Sancho is the man who say, he tell them, give him a fair trial and hang him in the morning. Big fat Mexican. Vamos muchachos. And when he used to hold the gun and pelt the gun and like actually pelting out the bullet as a young man, I never used to miss a Fernando Sancho movie. Once you hear Fernando Sancho, Juliana Gemma, better known as Montgomery Wood, and those men. Yeah, Lado, I know that I'm correct. I used to be a Western man.
You're talking about Astor and Globe and
When I'm
Metropole.
talking about, I'm a countryman, I'm talking about Tivoli.
Okay.
Tivoli was a cinema at BV.
Okay.
Tivoli was a cinema at TV. And then you walk to Rio. Rio was the one at Plaisance. You walk from BV to Plaisance to see a movie there. And then in the later days, you had one at Gurup, just where the crematorium, by the crematorium and the cemetery is. They used to get a nice Western on a Monday afternoon. So me and a friend of mine, Errol Eastman, used to walk down the road and we got to see Western Monday afternoon. I'm trying to remember, I can't remember the name of that cinema at Gurup. But so yeah, we had the Western experience there and so on. So I would like to close VJ Cinema. Thanks, Key. The cinema at Gurup was known as VJ Cinema. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. So you see, when I'm talking, I know what I'm talking about, I know what I am talking about. I had a good youth man days. I told them some years ago about kite making days. I tell you now about the Western days, Fernando Sancho and all those men. I never used to miss it. Never used to miss a good Western. Well, not good Western, any Western. You will go and see Bud Spencer and Terence Hill and all of those people. You don't miss those those movies. So, folks, as I've said, this matter involving this concept is a very serious matter. And we know that the usual thing is that if this thing is not kept alive, the man will get a cowboy, Fernando Sancho going to intervene, and then the next thing you hear he lost the work or some severe punishment or something like that. Even without that, you're going to be victimized for no reason of his. For no reason. He is not responsible for what transpired. He is not responsible for what transpired, but he's likely to be victimized because the matter has gained public attention. So will be for us.
And Paul, before you go, and I must mention, that the previous conduct of the man in charge of admin in relation to disciplinary matters, no evidence, and you convict people.
Yes, I mentioned it last week because he get a Fernando Sancho tendency. Because we mentioned it where there was absolutely no evidence against the sergeant, and the trial officer recommended that the matter should be dismissed. And he found the man guilty and fined him 1 day's pay. So that is the type of Fernando Sancho that we're talking about. Real cowboy action. So, young constable, if you're listening, make sure you fight for your right. You don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to be rude to anyone, but your rights, you have to be advised and fight for your rights. Do not be railroaded over this incident. And that is not only for that rank, but others as well. You have to know your rights and fight your rights. And I am urging the supervisors, those who are in charge of ranks, friends, if you're in charge of rank, you got to look into their welfare. That is the only way you can get the best out of them. That's the only way you're going to get them to perform optimally. You have to look into their welfare. You can't send a man on duty and get him there for extended period without any food, without any water, and expect him to perform. And I know the other people listen to, or the thing is normally conveyed to them, and they are called by all kinds of names. I am not going to call them those names, but I say to them, those people who are being guarded, those people who request, folks, understand your own security is severely compromised when a rank is there for all of those hours. You believe that you are being properly guarded, but you cannot. A man cannot provide the security that perhaps you expect when he's there for those long hours. So it is in your interest to make sure that this does not continue. I want to take this opportunity to thank all my listeners, viewers. Um, as I indicated, tell people it's there. This is going to be on YouTube for you to um, look back, for you to see what's going on. I I'm not going to leave without warning you about COVID. COVID is still around. Encouragingly low numbers, but it is still there. And given the transmissibility of this deadly virus, if we don't take care, then we are likely to have a situation where it comes up again. So please continue to stay safe. I want to wish you well, and God's willing, next week, Wednesday at 11 o'clock, we'll be here again to speak out and expose corruption and incompetence. Bye for now.